Hi, and welcome to another Snappy Chat. I love these chats because this is all about learning and growing together. I'm Christine Bell. I'm a customer strategist, which is all about understanding your customers and bringing it to life in your brand, your communication, innovation, etc. But we're not talking about me today. We are going to talk to the wonderful Victor, who actually is from Australia but lives in Vietnam. So that's going to add a little spice to our conversation today because there's so much to talk about, culture and everything. And this is all about learning and growing together. So I'm thankful for you being here. And thank you so much, Victor. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and your company that you have with your wife and what you're into and interested in.
No worries. Thanks for having me here, Christine. Pleasure to be here. I've watched a few Snappy Chats in the past. Now it's a pleasure to be part of that as a Snappy Chatter alongside of yourself. So I'm from Tokyo Design Studio. I'm one of the co-founders. My wife and I have had this studio for about 3 years. We started with me and her selling websites at around $60 for our first website. I think was our
Wow.
our first one. We're
Gotta
now
start somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. And then I think shortly after that, our first year was in a bedroom with 3 people, one of which was my wife's brother. And I remember doing video editing, lying down on the bed because there weren't enough desks for us to kind of do anything with.
Wonderful. But you've grown since then, and we'll talk about that now. Just going to say hello to Royce Blake from the US. He's a fantastic copywriter. If you ever need a copywriter, he's your man. He's a marketing expert as well. And Mike Asherbrowner for the House of Community, House of Business Community is here as well. So thank you for being here, guys. Back to you, Victor. I love that. We all start, most of us starts with humble beginnings in our business, yeah? And then we move from there. Halal is here too. Thank you for being here. So we've got several people here. And then we grow from there. So we've got to start somewhere, $60, and then you start in the bedroom. But where are you now?
Yeah, where we're at now, we've got now, I think our office has 2 floors that we operate off, and we've got 14 staff that work with us, and we're obviously closing much bigger deals now.
Wonderful. That's amazing. And my action brand has just said, I need to reach out to Victor since I actually need a great website and other stuff. And on that note, Roy says, great to meet you. On that note, let's talk about our mutual client and friend, Brad Younger. I don't know if he's here, but if not, hopefully he'll listen at some point. I told him he's going to show up, but we'll see. So we both work with Brad Younger, and you did an amazing website for him. He is in the space, rocket building space category, which is amazing. I've never worked with anyone in the space community before, which is amazing. And you did an amazing website. So what is it? www.sunburnedspace.com.au? Is that right?
That's it. You got it. Yeah, you got it.
So tell me a little bit about working with him. How did you find it? I love working with him, by the way.
I think he's a legend. He's one of the best people I've worked with. I think just so professional, knows what he wants, is understanding. There's some clients you work with that when you try and say, hey, this is going to cost more, there'll be argument and debate. With him, I think because he's worked in the industry so long, he understands that there's cost that happens for things. So he's been really great with that. Actually, at many times saying, hey, let me pay you guys more instead of us going, hey, we're going to have to charge you more, which is one of those amazing things to work with.
It's not often you get a client like that. So he is truly special. If he's not here, I just wanted to give him a shout out because I love working with him. He listens to strategy. He contributes to strategies, all co-creation and collaboration and total openness and transparency. And I just love seeing, because when you do strategies on paper, yeah. So for me to see it come alive in this amazing, beautiful website, and I put it out on LinkedIn as well, all the beautiful, I don't know if you did some of the communication as well and the posters and whatever, but it just all hang together when I went to visit his factory in Brookvale in Sydney.
I've got to take a visit to that place. When I'm back in town, I certainly will. Yeah, I think it's one of the more exciting projects we've worked on. Like when you think about the list of things in our portfolio, doing a rocket company, and to me, it looks like this is going to be the Australian SpaceX, right? So we're when I think about Brad Younger, he's like, we're talking with Elon Musk, except he's a bit more handsome than Elon Musk and a bit more Aussie as well.
Yeah, and just starting, like Mike said, I already love Victor's story. A lot of us can relate and be inspired by succeeding by starting from humble beginnings. Yeah, Brad is there, I'm there, and so are you. And where are you now? 14 people, you said.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, God's been very kind to us. we're Christian, and I think the change in business for us was literally for me and my wife picking up the book of Proverbs every morning and going, how is it that we run our business in a way which reflects God's values? And that has been challenging because you realize you're not a good person a lot of the time with people, and at the same time really fulfilling because it's brought a lot of peace to us as well.
Yeah. So really living and working from your values, which is a lot of companies talk about it, but don't do it. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So with Brad's younger stuff, I think what I loved about that project was that we actually got given a brand strategy. So that's something you don't usually get. A lot of people begin at the end rather than at the start. So they approach you and they go, hey, look, I'd love to do a video. And you go, well, do you have a logo? And they go, no, we don't have a logo yet. And then we go, well, do you know who your target market is? They go, no, we don't know that yet, but we think it's this. We think it's everybody, right? We want to sell this to everybody. It always starts with everybody. And then I guess the question is, you go, well, maybe let's sit down and kind of have a little look at this and talk about what we're going to do about how we're going to reach the target audience that you need. And so with Brad, it's great because we actually had that strategy stuff handed to us, and that's what we want to get before we start any project is really what you want. Yeah. You want a Christine to come in before you begin with the brand, the design section of it. You want to start with the brand strategy. So really appreciative.
I appreciate you saying that because when I started my business 9 years ago, burning out. Yeah. And I just kind of started freelancing for old clients and even old employers. And it was big clients. And then came the lockdowns and things changed. But before the lockdowns, I started networking in Sydney, and I met a lot of small business owners and founders and startups. And I saw exactly that in 95% of them is they are not even aware really of strategy. It's sort of like, oh, here's a plan. I'm going to do the XYZ kind of thing. I make it up. Never check the research if there's an opportunity. And then they go ahead with a website and all these things that are important. But if you don't know what you're going to say on that website and who you're communicating with and what your brand stands for, it's kind of like a lot of time and potentially waste of money if you don't hit it right. Yeah, unless you're really clear, then there's a good chance you're going to get it wrong, and then that's upsetting for you too because you want them to do well with the work you do, right?
Absolutely. I think it's a mindset thing. So when people come in not having done their homework, so to speak, it's usually not going to be a project that succeeds because they're not willing to spend that time knuckle down. And it's fun to see something created as a customer and getting that delivered and you go, oh, look, there's a logo, it looks pretty, and that's kind of exciting. But when you haven't put that pre-thought into it, it doesn't really do anything because the fun stuff needs to be done at some point, but you got to begin with the hard work and that foundation is really what sets a business up for a win.
Yeah, exactly. The background, which no one sees, but so important. And then you get to the good stuff, and the good stuff that everyone is going to see is going to get so much better with that. So thank you for sharing as well. Now, what I loved about you is you started at humble beginnings in the bedroom, just a few people, and now you're 14 people. So tell me about, I know that would be a challenge, right? So there's been a challenge around expanding. So tell me a bit more about that, because I think all of us wants to expand, but it's not that easy.
Yeah. So, it's always about finding the right people. And I guess the question for every business leader is like, who are those right people for your business? Skill set is definitely up there. But I think that it plays maybe a secondary or a third role in kind of how we hire people. So what we've done is we've kind of looked at the character of people as our primary review of who someone is. And then we've approached it in look, you can train anyone up to do something. If someone's got some basic talent in there or some basic skill set, you can really train anyone up to do a great graphic or a great this or a great website or whatever it might be. But character is something that people begin with and come to the table with. You can change character, but that's a much, much bigger investment for a business to do. So yeah, that's kind of where we've started our hiring.
And I love that mindset because it's really about making sure everyone fits into the team and that they match your values. Yeah. And I think whether we know it or not, we do actually unconsciously connect better with people that we share values with.
Absolutely.
And the same goes for a brand.
Absolutely. I think that, so I remember the first guy we hired, which is, he's now actually our senior designer, right? He's heading up a team of about 6 graphic designers right now. But I remember when he started with us, he was turning up at, I think, something around like 10 a.m. His start time was 8. And I'd say in the early days, I was like, oh, that's fine. So long as you do your 8 hours, I'm cool with that. Then my mindset changed to, oh no, as long as he gets the work done, then it doesn't really matter how long he's in the office. And then it changed again to, actually, no, this is a really unhealthy and bad pattern for his life, because I could see the impact that kind of lack of stability was bringing in him. So I sat down with him for a morning coffee one morning. I said, look, what's going on, man? It looks like you're more depressed every day I see you. And he basically said, look, dude, things aren't going great at home. And I said, look, that's fine. I said, but you can fix this, right? I said, you can start with just turning up at a regular hour at work. Let's begin with that. Once we've nailed that one, let's talk about paying you more. Let's talk about, what the next level is. And I remember saying in that meeting to him, look, dude, if you stay with us and you do a great job, my plan is we're going to have 4 or 5 other graphic designers that you're going to be leading. And we're at that point now. So,
that's so exciting. And I hope the person is still with you.
Yeah, he's doing amazing. Yeah, he's doing really great. He's really solid. Trust him, massive trust with him. We've built that. But that shift did happen at a point where we got to about 4 people, and then I said, we can't be lax on people turning up. At the same time, you've got to play it so you're like, well, bad things do happen some mornings, right? You get up, you've got diarrhea. You're going to be late for work. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I had a new Irish guy who started maybe, I think, a little over a month ago. He turned up about half an hour late. And I was like, this is for his first day on the job. I said, what happened, mate? He's like, Victor, you're not going to believe it. I was on a bike. We were in a car crash. We almost hit these 2 older people, and he had torn trousers and everything. And I was like, goodness me, what a morning to start your first day.
I know, and things happen, and that's a serious situation, and things happen, for course. But I like your idea of, with your values comes some level of responsibility, accountability, and being willing to show up, yeah. And that's important to you in character. And therefore, sometimes we want to be these bosses who are just, I'm so relaxed and all that, but it's not necessarily the best for us or for them either.
Yeah, that's a great point. So that was my error early on, was being too friendly with people, and it was confusing. It's very confusing in Vietnam, because and you were telling me a little bit before about your experience in Thailand, and it's similar in Vietnam. Like, there's this line where the boss walks in and you shut up, and you just silently work there. And I guess in an Aussie background, you're kind of like, there's a bit of, malarkey, a bit of banter and joking usually, but they don't know where that line is, where you can keep bantering or you just stop. So I was confusing the heck out of our people. So basically, we got to a point where, like, look, we're just going to stop being overly friendly and be kind to these people by not doing that culture from Australia.
And it's so interesting because, if we just live in our own country and we live in our culture, we're surrounded by everyone else who has the same culture. So we don't necessarily pick up on what's unique about our culture. Yeah. Me coming from Denmark, having lived in America, South Africa, England, and Australia now for 20 years, and working in a space where I spend a lot of time talking to people around the world for research, is that I am so acutely aware of culture, even though sometimes, as I told you earlier, make mistake too, yeah, by showing up in black when everyone is wearing yellow in Thailand. But that's another story for another day. So understanding culture, and that's so important, because I think in this world we're living in now, because we can work remotely as well, suddenly you'll see a lot more company, even if we have a team overseas in the Philippines, etc., virtual assistants, there's going to be cultural differences that we may or may not be aware of, and getting clear on them is so important, right, from what you're telling me.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I think about my workspace is, what do I want in our office? So I think, okay, well, peace is a big thing, right? You want peace when you're a boss. You want peace when you're running a business. So I looked what Jess and I did. We looked at all the people in our staff group, and we said, look, which people are bringing us peace and which people are breaking that peace in the office for us. We identified those. I think there were about 3 people, 2 of which were going kind of yibber yabbering, not business talk, but yibber yabber. And I remember walking in and that kind of like just going, what's going on in this office, man? Like, this is why work's not getting done. It's because we've got 1 or 2 people in here that are stirring up the hard workers to distract them from what they need to do. So we brought those people in for meetings and we said, can we change this? Can we stop doing this, please? And they verbally agreed, but basically nothing happened. And then the next meeting was, hey, look, thank you so much for working with us. We don't think we're a great alignment in our values. Best of luck for your next role, and kind of move from there. And that was a landmark moment. That was about 1.5 years ago, I think, that happened. And there was some great people that had begun with us that we had a lot of emotional attachment to. But losing those people actually transformed everything for us, because that culture changed to a place where you could go, hey, this needs to be done today, and people would get it done. They'd be happy, it'd be peaceful, and then the quality would be higher as well. And yeah, that was a really great move we made.
And it sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that perhaps when you first started out, it was more like I want to be friends with my colleagues. I want to be a nice boss. Yeah, I want to be the one that's relaxed and nice and friendly. But if they don't understand the culture in Australia, which is more like, hey, how are you going? And there's a bit of that banter and stuff, but people still get work done. Then of course it's confusing to them from a culture perspective, because now it's like, well, I can do what I want. This is what they told me to, or what I'm perceiving that I can do now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So like for example, the Irish guy, he's a big talker, right? So he'll talk, but even with him, I've had to say, hey, look, we've got to bridge this line here, Connor, because we're working with Vietnamese people, so we've got to make this work on the right level. You can jibber jabber a little bit with me and a bit of banter, but let's do 90% quiet and 10%, and the rest of that you can have a little bit of a chat in between. Yeah.
And do you then set up, like, culturally, do you then set up times like this is time out where we can all chat, or how have you managed to enforce it is it just by conversation saying be quiet, work, or how do you do it?
So I think the team leaders naturally, we've got a graphics team leader, we've got a video editing team leader for that senior there.
They are from Vietnam, so they understand the culture better?
Yeah, that's right. So they just run their teams the way that they see how it should be, and I just don't get involved in that. It's what I do. But
fair enough, yeah, right?
Yeah, but at lunchtime I say, hey, look, you don't have to be best friends, but I do want you guys to have lunch together and at least get along. So my requirement in the interview process, I go, one of the requirements is we've got an hour for lunch. You go to lunch, you have lunch with your co-workers and chat with them. That's a non-negotiable.
Yeah. And that adds a little bit of social environment so people feel connected, I think, and also allows them to feel like they belong and seen and heard, but it doesn't take away from the actual work. So I love that. And it actually is interesting that you say this. At the university, I teach business school, and we teach innovation and collaboration. And part of the collaboration is actually the theories actually backs up exactly what you're doing, in terms of you don't want people to become so friendly that they're best friends that they actually stops them from working well together, or they can't be critical, or they start doing group thinking rather than critical thinking because they don't want to upset the friendship. Yeah. But you do need a level of social as well for them to get on, because it actually makes for better work when they are a bit social with each other. So we kind of go, okay, in your own time, we really highly recommend that you have a lunch together, you do coffees together, that you do something together. I had a team in last term that were playing cards together after class, and they had food with them, so they had some snacks and played cards, and that's how they socialized. And I said, I don't mind what it is, but do some level of socializing, like you said, because it actually helps teamwork. But if you do it all the time, it prevents it.
Yeah, I think that's really insightful. So one of the other things we've done is we do these every 3 months or so. We'll do like a rap battle competition.
What's that? Rap battle?
Yeah, we do. We've run rap battles. So we've done it. I think we've done 3 times. We've got a reigning champion, an internal reigning champion, The next step is we're going to start challenging some other studios to some rap competitions as well. But yeah, it's basically
what exactly is it? Is it real live rats that are running like in a race, like a dog racing? What is it?
No, like rap, like so we'll set them up so they'll have
rap?
rap. We'll do freestyle
I
rap.
thought you said red IAT. I'm like, red? Oh, gee.
No, like, yo, what's up, Christine? You're really, really mean. That kind of thing. But yeah, so we'll have a head-to-head battle where they have to like say mean things against each other in rap, and then we'll have like duos, and then we'll have two big teams where they do like freestyle offensive on each other. So that's one of our.
Talk about getting people out of their shell. If you said the Vietnamese culture is more quiet and just get down, don't say anything to the bosses, just work, yeah? Now you're making them actually do something very different, hey?
Yeah, and it's been really great because that kind of thing. Because with a creative group, right? If you're too strict, it gives them this kind of paranoia about what they're producing. So the quality of the work drops. If you over instruct people, then the quality of the work drops. And you kind of got to have that balance of like, hey, just do whatever you think looks amazing, but it has a time frame as well. So rap battles are kind of that opportunity to get it out.
So you need people who are divergent thinkers and convergent thinkers. So the divergent being big thinking, creativity, and convergent, like let's get narrowed down and get to a solution on time. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Exactly right.
Wonderful. I love that. So how have you found it culturally as well? Because, I mentioned earlier, I showed up to Bangkok back once for a presentation on a Monday, and Monday was Yellow Day in Bangkok. And I didn't realize it because the old king was born on a Monday and it was Yellow Day. Everyone was wearing yellow and I wore black. I was the only one in the whole bank that wore black that day. And I kind of stood out completely, and I wish I'd known about that earlier, but I didn't check up on the culture. So what are the key things you learned about working? Obviously, you're married to a wonderful Jess who is from Vietnam, but what have you learned about the culture that you picked up that has also helped you define yourself in business?
So when I first came to Vietnam, I was an alcoholic, and I remember I was invited out to this billionaire's house, a Vietnamese billionaire, which is a millionaire in Australian terms, but a million. And he's like, oh, you're from Australia, aren't you? And I was like, yeah, I'm from Australia. He said, you guys drink a lot, don't you? And I had this alcoholic's pride in the amount I could drink. So I remember sitting down, and he handed me a bottle of Lafroig, and I proceeded to drink the whole bottle by his instruction. So because I thought that's what I was meant to do. Yeah. But now, since turning back to Jesus, I've stopped drinking alcohol completely. And but that was for me a bit of a cultural shock, that when people offer you something, they don't always mean for you to do it. They're just being polite. And if you accept the offer and you do what they ask, then you're actually the rude one. It's like, yeah, you want me to drive you down to the airport? You're like, yeah, really? Yeah, I'll drive you down. Yeah, okay, that would be great. Then they do it, but you shouldn't have accepted the offer. So I think that's, for me, was a big learning.
That's a very interesting cultural difference. So they offer you something, but it's out of politeness, but you should also be aware whether it's the right person to accept it from or not, or should we never accept it?
Yeah, always politely decline is what I've learned. Because they're being polite, you have to be polite back. So that for me was a big learning curve. And initially I thought of that as kind of a bit deceptive. So in my kind of Western mindset, I'm like, why don't you just tell me what you want? You want to help me or not? Or you want me to help you or not? Just what's the, but now I've learned, actually, no, it's the way that the culture is, because they're trying to show care for you.
Okay. That's interesting. It's so interesting. And if you don't know, you don't know. Yeah. You assume that it would be rude not to do what they're offering. Yeah. To say no.
That's right. It's like, what do I do?
Well, that's a big learning. And how are you finding it now? Because you've been there for how many years now, living in Vietnam?
A little over 3 years.
Wow. How are you finding it?
Oh, it's amazing. It's fantastic. The people here are amazingly kind and nice. In Saigon especially, you'll go on the street, you'll order a coffee, you'll say something wrong, then some random person next to you will like yell it out in Vietnamese properly to the person at the thing. Yeah, they're really, really, really kind people here. I'd highly recommend at least visiting, if not moving here.
I don't know how easy it is to move there, but it does sound wonderful. I need to visit. I've only ever heard fantastic thing about Vietnam. So Wonderful. So do you speak Vietnamese now?
No, all our staff speak English and all our work's in English. So.
Yeah, well, of course, you do website mostly for, I guess, people around the world. So it has to be in English most of the time, I assume.
Yep, 99% of the time. I think we've done one Vietnamese, no, two Vietnamese projects. One of which was for a mental health and well-being group just recently in Vietnam.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Now we're running out of time, but I could talk to you forever because you've got some great stories too. So tell us, before we finish up, how can people find out about you? Where can they reach you? Anything you got to promote or coming up that they'd be interested in? And please put it in the, go into the, through the share afterwards and put it in the comments as well, please.
Yeah, sure. You can check out our design magazine website, which is designmagazine.com.au. That's a project that we run and we have a lot of fun doing. If you want, you can go to tdsaustralia.com.au. That's our kind of like our sales website for our branding and marketing stuff.
Yeah.
And projects that we're excited about is pretty much Sunburnt Space. I think is probably the most exciting one that we've got going on. Like sending a rocket to the Kármán line, and that's an Aussie project. So seeing Australia finally send a kangaroo into space, and that being someone that we know, is pretty exciting.
It's super exciting. Like, it's so exciting, and I wish them all the best for it. So wonderful. So you love, what I'm gathering is, because you're a great brand strategist yourself, I'm gathering you really love actually having a great strategy that allows you to do the best work creatively as well to bring it to life. Yeah.
Absolutely. We need companies like yours, Christine, to do the pre-work for us, and that's going to be a company, I think, that survives as someone that's done the thinking properly with a professional that's aimed at that, and then comes to a brand design company after that. And that's the right sequence of things. And then, yeah, if you've done that, then you're gonna be successful on some level.
Exactly. And it just makes it so much easier for you guys to be successful too. Yeah. Because otherwise you are trying to do the strategy for them, but they're not paying you for it.
That's right. And you never do a good job when you're not getting paid for it. You just don't.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being on here today, Victor. I really appreciate it. I hope we get to work together in the future. And yeah, please stay in touch, and please go in and connect with people who have been here today. We've got lots of people who are very interested. We've got El Wubim Shadhude, I hope I pronounced that correctly, who's here too. There's some names I can't pronounce very well with my Danish accent. But it's great to have you on. Thank you so much.
What an honor and a pleasure to see you. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for being here.